Welcome to our two worlds, Canuck summers, Pinoy winters.
Below 50,000 pa na lang mo? 4,500. Nakapadala ka na ba ngayon po? Yeah, 200 sabihin. So, dito sa may Pilipinas, first 500. Yes. So, let's see. 0, 6, 3, 6, 0. Okay, yes. Dito kay Beth. Okay, so ito ba ginamit mo na lang? Yes. So, pumasok mo naman. Ako din yung silver.
So we're inside the Filipino Mart and just going to let you have a quick look around here. So this is more of a expat type video. I want to talk about what it's like to live in another country and what are the things that are important to you. What markers do you look for? And I think it's important that we step back a bit, especially when we're traveling around and we see various islands and we see various pieces of property, and we envision this romantic notion of, you know, the tropical beach and all of that type of thing. But it doesn't take long. Some people 3 months, some people maybe a couple of years. But you got to get used to the idea that just because it's a tropical beach, you might as well be on top of a mountain in the Rockies. You can get pretty isolated. Now in the Philippines, there's going to be lots of people around, but is having other expats around needed for you? You watch a fair number of bloggers that are on YouTube, and some of them, yeah, they've embedded themselves right into the community. It's about their wife, their kids, and the community, and the expat involvement can be pretty minimal. One guy talks about meeting up with a fellow once a month. Might be a little bit of a stretch for me, even though we're going to spend our summers in Canada, and then we're going to spend the winters in the Philippines. And so, you know, what is that marker that you need in your life? Is it the casual availability of a bowl of Heinz chili, right? Have a bowl of chili. For a buddy of mine, it was rye bread. He wanted to be able to get rye bread. And, you know, a lot of the pandesal and such, they're sweetbreads. And so now, fortunately, we were living in Anglais at the time, and he went down to French baker and said, please, oh please, oh please, can you make me some rye bread? And they made him a beautiful couple of loaves of rye bread. And then he stared at it and he said, it's not sliced. He was like this wounded little puppy. He wasn't a wounded puppy, but you know what I mean. And so anyway, they said, oh, we could slice it for you, sir. Well, one of the slicers wasn't working very well, and it shredded one of the loaves down to about half a loaf. And they sorry, sir, the couple of knives weren't working properly. Gave him a bunch of breadcrumbs and a half a loaf of bread. And the other one they did through the other machine, and it was just fine. But again, the look on his face was, you know, I've been waiting for this rye bread for how long, and it finally found a place that can make it, and they make it, and they can't slice it. It was pretty funny. But again, it's those things that you need in your life. The type of expat that you need around you. I find that European, US, Australian, it doesn't matter to me. Finding that marker, what is that marker for you? So for us, you know, we've now gone back and forth for the last 5 years, and before that I spent almost 2.5 years as we waited for our visas to come through. And I'll tell you, initially it was all about, you know, let's get to Canada and get on with our lives. And by the time I got back to Canada and spent 2.5 years in the Philippines, I was just itching to go right back again. Canada had changed a lot. I kind of giggle when I listen to some of these vloggers who have been on YouTube for a while now, and they say, oh, the food costs have gone up so much, and you guys might want to reconsider and stuff. And the whole time I'm listening to this, I'm thinking to myself, dude, get a burger now in Canada, you classify it as a gourmet burger, not a frozen, puck, as we would call it in Canada. Proper patty, and the ability to get guacamole on it or whatever. It's, $16, $18 for a burger and fries now. And so, a lot of these things are quite relative, and it doesn't take us long to lose our perspective on the cost of things because we haven't been home. We haven't seen the increases in prices. So as an example, when I left, it was for a single guy, it was costing me about $60 a week for groceries. And, when after the 2.5 years and we got back to Canada and I'm looking at the grocery prices, whoa, what is going on here? It's that disconnect. You get this disconnect. As an example, I joke with waitresses. I said, what the hell happened? When I left, all the people in the restaurants were going, ciao, ciao. It was the thing to say. And when I got back, they were all going, how y'all doing today? And I went, I landed in the States. Probably a TV show. They're picking up. Chow was probably from a TV show, something that I don't, I'm not watching. But it is quite surprising. The disconnect you will have, gasoline prices for your car, the maintenance on your car, the cost of furniture, and then you get that different mindset when you're in the Philippines, right? Like we bought a few things from SM, but honestly, you go down to the wet market and you buy a couple of t-shirts. And go from there. Lynn is always taking the sleeves off. We just buy t-shirts now because I'm tired of walking around trying to find sleeveless shirts. And especially in the Philippines, they're usually, some basketball team or, oversized, too long. That's a Filipino style of trike drivers and Jeep drivers and stuff like that, right? So, but it's not me. I just want a black t-shirt without any sleeves on it, or gray, something like that. I'm not fussy with my clothes. But so to give you an example, because we're going to be looking at building now in the Philippines, building or buying, and where do we want to be? Well, things on the checklist. If I need a medical procedure, now I don't mean an emergency, I'm talking about a procedure. Last year, a friend of ours in Angeles got into a motorcycle accident. My God, it looked like they, from where his toes connected on the balls of his feet there, just peeled his skin back. And all I did was stitch it up and put him back together. I don't know right now, because neither one of us have been back there yet, how well he's walking. Do you need a procedure to go in and correct anything? Now, we're looking in northern Cebu. Would we look at doing that in Bogo? Probably not. We're probably going to go to Cebu and go to, one of the private hospitals there and check out the doctor and who would do the procedure and all of that type of stuff. These more local hospitals, procedurally, you might not want to go in there. And even then, if you're looking at a piece of property, you haven't bought a piece of property, priorities, what conditions health-wise do you have? What things do you need to take into consideration when you're making these moves? Medical training is available in lots of places in the Philippines. Is it worth it for you and your wife to go down and get some training, right? My wife never learned to swim, so one year she took lessons there. It was funny to see that. So there were military guys learning how to swim because they can't get a promotion unless they know how to swim. 7,000 islands and nobody knows how to swim. I always found that kind of funny, And I don't mean just going out in the water. I mean being able to swim and float and on your back, all that type of thing. But what is your marker? The hospital. For me, movies. And it's not that I need to see a movie every day of the week. Sometimes we do. You know, those really hot July days, June days. Find yourself in malls. I never go to a mall in Canada. Never. There's more shops and stuff, more interesting things to do. But so movies are kind of my benchmark. Because if I get a movie, then that means that that mall has got some, you know, the hypermarket or whatever might have, you know, a section of foreign foods. Again, not big on my list, but, you know, spices for the food, you know, different things like that. So the movie is kind of my benchmark. But what's your benchmark? Is your benchmark that you have to be within, you know, 10 minutes of the city, right? Because you want Western restaurants and stuff like that. For me, if we did a movie, say every week to 10 days, sure, we'd go down to Ayala and Cebu and gonna find all sorts of Western food there, and enjoy it, right? The music, all that whole thing. So you got to find out what is your marker. My joke has always been movies. Of course, with the lockdown and everything, movies haven't been playing even in Canada, and we've kind of OD'd on movies in the last 10 days. But again, that's just yeehaw, we haven't been able to do it. You know, an internet, how fast the internet do you need? Do you want to pay the price of satellite internet? All of these different types of things. These are the things that you need to weigh out. When I'm here in Canada, there's lots of Filipino stores, lots of them, and they like networking together. And so, you know, there's nothing wrong with going to another country and saying, I still want to be around expats. I want to be able to, even if it's just as simple as going for a coffee and sitting out in front of a McDonald's for a little bit. You know, again, what are your priorities? But one of the things that we all have to get over, it's a different country. Stay out of the politics. You're probably of the age where let it all go. Let your home country politics go. Just let it go. You've made the decision to live another life. How many guys can say that? How many people can say that they have decided that they've lived a Western life? And in this body, I'm only going to go around once. So why not go live in another culture? Explore it. Because remember, I said earlier in this video, I didn't want to go back to the Philippines. But slowly but surely, shedding a lot of that Western stuff, you do get used to it. So spend some time, travel around, meet some expats, find out where things are, and then decide what type of life you want. For us, it's half here, half there. Had the lockdown happened, boy, it would have been nice to have had a house there, or our own place. So the question will come up, because our group's called Our Two Worlds, and we're living 6 months in Canada, 6 months in the Philippines. And yes, I want to be back here in Canada for those summer months, because family, right? The chances of my grandchildren being able to fly to the Philippines, even before COVID, if they were today's age, is not comfortable for everybody. So we will go back and forth and enjoy what Canada can offer and enjoy what the Philippines can offer. But the question will come up, could I live there full time? Yes, I can. I could live there full time. It wouldn't bother me. I've adjusted now enough between the two cultures to know to, you know, let it go. And in the process of letting Western pace of life, we all know Philippine time, right? So because of pace of life, I can get over that. I can get through that. That's not going to be a problem for me. Location, location, location. I have no serious health effects, so having to have a Western emergency hospital close by is not necessary for me. However, I want to be close enough for a procedure, right? We talked about the procedure earlier. So I want that there. So, you know, with Lynn's family being on Cebu, it's logical that we're on Cebu, and you can't knock Cebu's medical system. They've got multiple hospitals there that are easily going to serve our needs. Yeah, I could live in both, but I wouldn't give up my Canadian citizenship. I would definitely fly back. You know, there's things that you got to do, but would it be 6 months and 6 months? Probably not. But I would be budgeting for self-insuring. I think self-insuring makes the most sense, primarily because if you found yourself in a situation where you needed that emergency money to go home, because that emergency money needs to be in the Philippines, you have to show that you can get that money quickly. I watched a video the other day, and they kept taking him down to get more money before they would do any more work on him. Well, I'm sorry, but that's reality in many, many, many parts of the world. And so, you know, money talks and everything else walks. So, but for us, with our health conditions the way they are, etc., I wouldn't have any problems with being where we're planning, which would be, you know, comfortably 3 hours away from downtown Cebu, which will be just an hour and a half to get through Cebu anyway, or an hour anyway. So we're not that far away, and we do have a number of general hospitals in our area, and we've scouted out some good, you know, physician, general practitioner types, right? So yes, we could do that. We could do that. Just like expats are doing it in Canada, we could do it. So anyway, food for thought. What is your marker? Mine's movies, because that gets me the other stuff that a mall will have if that has a theater in it. Okay, we'll talk to you later. There's Lynn posing out in front of the Filipino Mart. This is on Douglas in Victoria. There we are.
Okay.
And we'll start heading back to the car. Do 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 rata do 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 da.